What is shaking? Welcome to the show, everybody. Friday edition. You know how we like to roll on Fridays. We like to talk football, and we like to talk football from a handicapping perspective. And we do that with Dr. Bob, Dennis Ranahan. First off, it's Dr. Bob, drbobsports.com. If you want to go there, check out the site. Again, it's full, chock full. And I don't get to use the word chalk very often, except when I say chock full. Although chock full of nuts was a coffee. You got to be like really old to remember that commercial. Chock full of nuts is that wonderful coffee. Anyway, but I don't get a chance to use it enough. But it's chock full of information. If you just want to be a better college football fan, you want to know the game a little bit better, go there. If you like to wager a little bit, but not a lot, there's a lot of leans there that you could look at, and those are profitable. Or if you want to, pay for the service, we talk about a few of those games as well, which we will today. So just make sure, do yourself a favor, go to drbobsports.com, make yourself a smarter college football fan. Bob, what's going on?
I'm doing all right. Mostly winners last week. I think even the games we talked about on your show were leans.
Yep.
I think you just, I think all those hit. So good week.
Yeah, we finally got some 50-50 games to go our way.
Yeah, finally. Yep.
God, it's frustrating when you get the 50-50 games and they just slide. Like you're like, okay, this lost that one. Oh no, lost that one. So last week it was nice to get a couple that head our way. And we'll talk about one game in particular that you actually have a play on. Line hasn't moved a ton, but a point. It's one of the maybe not the key number, but one of them. But let's get to the big games first. There's a few of them this weekend. I want to start with Vandy Bama because it's such an interesting game. Vandy comes in with their 10th year senior, however many years Pavi has been in college football. That guy just won't go away. He's like the what was the kid's name for Cal basketball? Grigsby, that was there for like 12 years. Yeah, he was there forever. I was like, this guy's still there.
I was there around the same time. I used to play pickup games with Al, and super nice guy. And a great player. Just so bad before he got injured, he was a force.
Mm-hmm.
He was still pretty good after he came back, but he basically had parts of 2 years off, and he got red shirts. I think he was there 7 years.
That's incredible. Well, I mean, Miami had a tight end a year or two ago that was like his 9th year.
Yeah, the guy that came over from Oregon and then transferred to Miami and kept getting hurt.
Bro.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. I mean, I know you want to finish it up, but good Lord.
Diego Pavi is just waiting for his breakout season so he gets picked in the NFL, and this could be it.
It could be. Year. Well, he's enjoying that sweet NIL money, and I don't necessarily blame him. Although at some point they're going to have to start regulating like exactly how many years you can play. But anyway, let's talk about this game because Vandy's offense has been really good. Yeah. Last year was a huge upset. I remember watching that game, just kind of expecting Bama to take over. And they never could. I mean, Vandy, you couldn't get them off the field last year. I forget what they were on third downs, but it was like third down conversion after third down conversion. Yeah. Bama would get the ball, they'd go like 3 plays, touchdown, and then Vandy take another 7 minutes off the clock. So Vandy beating Bama is a huge deal. But this year, Vandy comes in ranked 16th, Bama's 10th, and it'd be an upset, but not what it used to be. What do you make of this game? And Bama coming off the big win against Georgia as well.
Yeah, Pavi is frustrating because you can get him in 3rd and 7, and then you could play perfect defense on 3rd down, and he'll scramble for 9 yards and get the first down. I mean, it's really frustrating. Like, really good defensive teams are relatively worse against Vanderbilt. And even when he was at New Mexico State running the same offense, they had those huge upsets. They beat Auburn at Auburn, New Mexico State.
That's right.
They had a couple 20-point underdog upset wins because the better your defense is, the more likely you are to be in your gaps and covering well. But he can take a play where you've played perfect defense and still get a first down. And that is really, really frustrating. He will run more against good defensive teams, and you don't want him running either because he's going to pick up 7 or 8 yards every time. So their offense is much better than it was last year. And it's not like, I mean, they've played some weak teams. You know, they beat Virginia Tech when Virginia Tech was really struggling. Virginia Tech's not a bad team. They talent-wise, they're a decent team, and they've won a couple games in a row now. But they also beat South Carolina 31-7, and it was on the road. I mean, their defense is much better this year than it's been. In fact, their defense rates about the same as Alabama's defense so far this year. Has a better defense. I think Alabama's probably got a better offense. But just based on this year alone, there's not much difference in these teams. I ended up coming down with Bama by a touchdown to 6 to 10 point range, I think, and I made a lean on Vanderbilt plus the 11 points. So I lean with Vanderbilt plus the 11, which and leans over the years on the site that are free. They've been 1,000 plays. They've been 55%. So and we had some last week that all won. So a lean is worth betting. So I think Vanderbilt's where he should be.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. All right, let's go to another game where we got two 5-star quarterbacks that haven't lived up to the hype as of yet. Although, DJ Lagway has had a little bit more runway than Arch Manning has. I think everybody just figured, he's a 5-star, he's a Manning, he's going to be great. Doesn't always work that way. But what both teams can do is play defense. And we've seen Texas do that. And we've seen Florida do that. It's just whose offense is going to be able to move the ball. I think Texas is better. I just don't know if I love laying like 6.5, 7 on the road with an offense that I'm still not sure is hitting its stride. It still seems like it's kind of hit or miss with this team. In no way am I advocating a play for Florida. I'm sorry, I just can't. I'm not taking DJ Lagway against that defense with no running game. Miami put them in a box, just stuffed them in a box, put them in the closet, and said, "Okay, come out after the game's over." So I'll watch this one. If anything, maybe an under. Although I'm sure the number is still pretty low. But how do you look at this one?
Well, Texas, they only scored 7 points at Ohio State.
Yep.
And then Manning had that horrible game against UTEP. And you're like, but there were rumors going around and people sharing videos like, look at his throwing motions different. He looks like he's hurt. He's grimacing. And then he came out and looked pretty darn good in last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever his last game was, averaged like 13 yards a pass or something. So I think he's better than they've been. And actually, they only scored 7 points against Ohio State, but they averaged 5 yards a play. And averaging 5 yards a play against Ohio State's defense is actually pretty good. I mean, Ohio State's only going to give up about 3.5 yards to an average FBS team. So they actually played relatively well, even though they didn't score more than 7 points. They kept getting down there and messing up in the red zone. So I think Texas is more capable offensively. The thing with Lagway, and you get my analysis, I was on Miami when they played Florida. Last year, Florida had 2 elite wide receivers, and those guys combined for 1,400 plus yards at 11.5 yards a target, not 11.5 yards a catch, 11.5 yards a target. Those guys were gone. The rest of the receivers last year were terrible. They averaged 5.6 yards a target. And you're like, well, they'll replace those guys. They got some transfers. Eugene Wilson's supposed to be good, blah, blah, blah. And they haven't been. The receivers I don't know if they're not getting open deep, not getting open at all. But this year, the receivers are averaging 6.1 yards per target as a group, which includes a blowout win against LIU. And they haven't been able to score against any of the teams from the FBS level. And they face some good teams. I mean, South Florida, LSU, and Miami, all are good teams, but averaging only 11 points in those games, 4.3 yards a play. Now they face Texas, who's got an elite defense, and Texas hasn't given up more than 14 points, and that was to Ohio State. So Florida's going to struggle, but Florida's at home. They got a great defense.
Yeah.
I looked at the under here. I made it. It's going to be some potentially bad weather. Looks like wind in the low teens to gusting into the 20s, and maybe some rain. But 42 is the number. That's getting pretty low.
Yeah, it's low.
I would rather have Texas, and I would rather have the under, but I don't trust Texas's offense either. Is sort of the deal there. So, but I feel okay about Texas finding a way to win by 7 or more.
Yeah, got it. All right, let's go to. I was trying to explain to everybody. We were talking a little bit about it last night. How big the Miami Florida State game used to be. Like if you didn't grow up and you weren't watching college football, in the 80s, mid 80s through maybe early to mid 90s. Like that was the game. It was 1 versus 2. A lot of them were like that. It was like the Labor Day game, kick off the season, Miami, Florida State, NFL dudes, Hall of Famers, just littering the field. And back then, it was even more of a big game because you didn't get a chance to lose twice and play for a national championship. So everybody remembers that followed it wide right, Florida State wide right a couple of times, even though they maybe had better teams, should have won, could have won, didn't win. This is the first time, I think, since then that I've been as excited to watch a game. Now, Virginia beating Florida State took a little bit of the luster off of this game, but it's still, this feels like you're not going to have all the NFL guys those games used to have, but it still feels like a big game. Miami's defense is probably, along with Ohio State, if not the best in the country, top 5 in the country. I think you can say. I mean, they're really good.
State has a good defense. They're up there.
So I don't know. I mean, I kind of wanted to take Florida State early, but the line's been going that way. I was like, oh, they lost to Virginia. Maybe I'll get a couple extra points. I think everybody thought that way. This is different. You're at home. Crowd's going to be going nuts. They got the tomahawk chop. I'd probably stand the whole game. Sit down for a little bit. They give the people, and they're not going. Nobody's going to want to sit down there. But how do you see this one? I'm excited to watch this one. This guy takes me back to the 80s. Like, oh yeah, I remember when this used to be a massive game.
Yeah. Where's Bobby Bowden now?
Bobby Bowden.
Those are some great teams. This is a good game. I like both these teams. I thought both these teams were underrated heading into the season. Obviously, Miami was considered to be good, but I had them to be really good because I thought Carson Beck was going to be better this year than he was last year at Georgia. Or 2 years ago at Georgia, he was great. So, I really like the system that Miami runs, and he's been good. Carson Beck's been good. The defense has been outstanding. New defense coordinator. Florida State's changed their defense, their coaching staff as well, and now they got Gus Malzahn running the offense, and Castellanos doing his thing, running, throwing. I thought he was good at BC and got hosed last year, getting replaced by a guy that I think is terrible. So I don't blame him for transferring, but he's found a home here, and his offense really suits him. And even last week when they lost, I mean, they outgained Virginia 515 yards at 6.5 yards per play to 440 yards at 5.2 yards per play. So they outplayed Virginia most of that game, and just didn't get some breaks. And then Florida State also moved the ball pretty darn well against Alabama earlier in the year. So they've proven that they can do, move the ball against a good offense, similar to Pavia, which we talked about, having a running quarterback that can drive teams nuts. And these guys with these really athletic defenses, all that misdirection that Malzahn does, I think works relatively well against better defensive teams also. Remember some of those teams he had at Auburn were, did their best work against really good defensive teams. Used to drive Saban nuts when they play. So I think Florida State can score points. I think Miami's going to be able to score some points. Florida's defense is really good. I don't think they're as good as Miami's defense, which is elite. So I think both teams are excellent. I think Miami's a little bit better. And I have Miami by 2. I think your instincts are right. This line was 6 earlier in the week, and I was like, maybe I'll jump on this. And just by the time I gave it a second thought, the line moved to 4.5. I was like, well, maybe not now, but I'm not going to bet the game. It's not even going to be lean, but I'd still rather take anything more than a field goal if you're going to bet it. But I'm not recommending it.
All right. Before we get to one of the games that you liked, I got to ask you about Cal. We were right on Cal. You said tip of Cal. That was boom. It was like, and that was a game I didn't even really do a lot of the due diligence on it. I just said, yeah, that'd be typical. You get blown out by San Diego State, you go all the way cross country, and you win a road game. And they did. It was perfect Cal. I know Duke's been a team that's kind of been. I mean, they've been good this year. It got me one time that I forget who. I don't know if you had him and I just had him.
I had him against Tulane.
That's what it was. Yeah, and they got off to just a brutal start.
They averaged like 7.5 yards a play or something. And wasn't that the game they were -4 in turnovers or something? That was Illinois.
Yeah, it just it was. Then they got off to a slow start and they just couldn't.
Yeah,
but they got to come all the way across the country now, and they're laying. I think it's 3 to Cal. Last I saw,
2.5. Really, yeah, it's both.
Okay, what do you make of this one?
A little bit of 2.5. Duke's really good offensively. I mean, Darian Mensah was fantastic at Tulane last year, so he's the Duke quarterback now. And aside from that game at Tulane, he's been great in every single game. Even the game they lost to Illinois, they were -5 in turnovers or something and outgained Illinois. So that was a little bit misleading. The problem is, and they play good teams, Illinois, Tulane, NC State, Syracuse, and they're averaging 32 points and almost 7 yards of play against 4 legitimate teams. Cal's defense usually pretty good all the time every year under Wilcox. This year they've struggled a bit. I mean, the last 2 weeks, San Diego State and Boston College, they gave up over 6 yards of play in both games, but they played well against, their first few games. So they need to bounce back, though. They can't be playing like they played the last couple weeks if they're going to handle Duke. But then again, Duke's defense has not been very good. They're giving up 6.4 yards per play and over 400 yards a game to the FBS teams I just mentioned. And Cal, although, the young quarterback's getting a lot of praise, they're an average offense. I mean, you just look at their statistics. They haven't gained more than 375 yards in any game against an FBS opponent. It's not like they're, shooting at 450 or 500 yards. They got a good quarterback, and I think he's going to be really good, but the running game's terrible. I think they'll be able to move the ball against Duke because Duke's defense has been, they've shown a lot of holes. Like normally Manny Diaz has a really good defense. This year, there's been some holes in that Duke secondary. So I think that the Cal pass game is going to work. And there's going to be more possessions because Duke plays at a fast pace. But I think it's going to be a really good game, really fun game. And I made it, my math made it Duke by 3, which is what the number is.
Yeah.
But the underdog in Cal games, we've talked about this before, 5-0 this season against the spread. Under Wilcox, the underdog in any Cal game is 62-34 against the spread. And they're 15-5 as an underdog in Berkeley. They almost beat Miami last year, for goodness sake. So, this year they already have an upset win at home against Minnesota. So this feels like I'd rather have Duke. I'd rather have Cal plus the points just because it's Cal. You might as well just take the points if you don't have an opinion. And I made it 29-28 Duke. So if there is points to be had, I guess I'd rather have them. But I don't recommend a bet on it.
Yeah, if you're going to bet Cal games, take the points. Doesn't matter who gets them, just take them. All right, let's talk about the one game that I know you released this, Kansas State and Baylor. And interesting because Kansas State won last week. They beat UCF. I watched them play. I've seen them play a couple of times this year. And the 2 times I watched them play, I got to be honest, I wasn't that impressed against Iowa State. Wasn't that impressed against Arizona. But I haven't seen enough of Baylor. The games I've watched them, Bob, like really good offense. They can really move the ball. They can really give up some points. And it's one of those kind of high variance games. How do you see this? Because Cal was getting when you released it was 6.5. I saw it's down to 5.5 now. I don't know how big a key. I mean, 6 is a key-ish number, I guess, at minimum. Yeah. So how do you think 5.5 still good? And how do you see
I think it's still worth a bet, even down to 5.
Okay.
I mean, it was a full unit play at +6, and I think down to +5, it's a half a unit play. But I still think it's a good bet on Kansas State. When they started the season, obviously not very good. They're only 2-3 straight up. Their 2 wins. They beat UCF last week, but North Dakota they only beat by 3 points. They haven't really, in that Iowa State game in Dublin, they actually outgained them by a ton. They actually outplayed them from the line of scrimmage. But that aside, they just have not played nearly as well as expected. They were considered one of the favorites in the Big 12 entering the season, and obviously they are no longer that. But last week was big because they got back Dylan Edwards, who was their star big play running back. Last year, Edwards was a backup to Giddens, and those two combined for 1,900 yards at 6.8 yards per run. Edwards is going to be the lead back this year after averaging 7.5 yards a carry as a backup last year, on 74 runs. And he got hurt really early on a punt return, I think, in the first possession against Iowa State, and hasn't played. He got like 4 carries a couple weeks ago. And then last week, he's healthy, and he gets 20 carries, and he runs for 166 yards, and they win by 14. the thing that's also hindered them, aside from Edwards being out, is that their leading receiver, Brown, was out last week. He got hurt the week before that, tried to play last week, played one series, couldn't go. So he was out last week. And what I think is their most valuable wide receiver is Bradley. Jaron Bradley leads the team at 10.9 yards per target, and he also leads the team in 64% success rate as a receiver. In the last 2 weeks without those guys, the passing game has struggled. Avery Johnson's only averaged 4.2 yards per pass play the last 2 weeks without a healthy receiving core. That's because the backup receivers, they have 3 receivers, and when 2 of them are out, then the backups start to play, and the backup receivers have combined for 4.1 yards per target, which is terrible. In the 3 games in which they had the receiving core healthy, Avery Johnson averaged 7.5 yards per pass play. So I think you're going to see the pass game reinvigorated. Edwards is now healthy at running back. So now I think you're going to see the Kansas State offense that we expected to see and that we saw last year was just a good offensive team. Baylor, also a good offensive team. I love their offense, but their defense is terrible. I mean, they've given up. Also, they're giving up over 6 yards, 5.5 yards of play. That sounds okay, but the teams they faced are terrible offensively as a group. So they've been below average defensively, and their offense, although they're averaging 6.5 yards per play, the teams they faced would give up 6.0 yards per play to an average FBS team. So they haven't been dominant offensively. They just played some bad defensive teams and scored a lot of points against them. I think Kansas State's better on offense now that they're healthy, and they're definitely better defensively than Baylor. So I just think there's been a little bit the pendulum swung too far toward Kansas State's good this year, but a lot of that had to do with injuries. And now that their offense is healthy, I think they're going to start playing well, and they're a play-on team, from here on out.
Yeah.
So I took the 6.5. It's down to 5.5. I still think it's worth a half to bet at 5 or more.
Yeah, and I like their coach too. I like K-State. All right, before we let you go, somebody popped this up on the screen, and I'm going to take a shot at this. You'll have a much better idea than I will, but I want to see how close I can get on that. They said, what do you think the line will be next week when the Hoosiers visit the Ducks? And let me see if I can get somewhat close to what you think it might be. I was thinking it's going to be higher than people think it's going to be. I would probably say 10-11. I'll split it and go 10.5.
Yeah.
I would probably I'd like to take Indiana there, but I still think they're probably rated a touchdown apart without home field. So I'll add a few points. I'll go 10.5 for that one. What do you think it might be?
All right, so I have market ratings along with my ratings. I like to see what the line is. The market ratings heading into this week have Oregon 5.7 points better. Add in maybe 2.5, 3. So I think it's going to be 8.5, 8.5, 9. If it got to 10, I think everyone would jump on Indiana. So I don't think they're going to.
Okay, got it.
I could see it 9.5, somewhere between 7.5 and 9.5. If it gets to 10, then Indiana's, definitely the play. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see. I mean, Indiana did struggle offensively against better defensive teams last year.
Yeah,
but they opened up a can of whoop ass on Illinois. So I mean,
Illinois crushed them.
Yeah, I just
crazy world we live in, isn't it? With the Ducks and Hoosiers, they're going to be the big game of the week.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That's going to be wild. Yeah. Well, best of luck this weekend. Let's see if we can knock some more winners out, and we'll get back to you again next week. And I'll show that picture. Do we still have that picture? The Al Hrabowski picture.
Yeah.
I know you had it up there. When I popped on the screen, Bob said he reminded me of a 70s reliever, and I got it right off the bat. I go, Al Hrabowski? He goes, yep, the Mad Hungarian. For those that don't know, go watch this guy on YouTube if you're too young to remember him pitch. He was crazy. This guy was just a nut out there.
Yeah. In his later years, that was an early picture. That was an early picture too. In his later years, he really had a lot of flow going, and his beard was a lot. I mean, he had the chops, but he had the thing you got going down the middle also in his later years.
Exactly.
So, find one of those later pictures.
Oh, he has some great YouTube clips where he's like throwing at guys and the umpires getting involved, and then like the batter on deck comes and stands in the. It's just like I don't know. I was like, "What the fuck's going on here? What are we doing?" And then I remember 70s baseball, baby. 70s baseball. God, I miss bad uniforms, but a lot of fun too. I got the stirrups and everything. Oh yeah, that's just old school right there. Well, enjoy the weekend.
All right.
See if we can get some winners, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week, Bob.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Have a good one.
All right. Take it easy. There you go. drbobsports.com. Again, go visit the site. Even if you don't wager, you'll just be a smarter football fan. And I will say that about our next guest, Dennis Ranahan, Quackside Sports. You go to picksfootball.com. Free articles. You can read about the games, and you can become a smarter NFL fan. Even if you don't wager, you can do that. If you do wager, there's free stuff on the site as well. And obviously, there's still paid stuff on the site. So a lot of different options you have going for you each and every weekend. Bob helps us out with college. Dennis helps us out with pro. He's had a nice start to the season. Let's try to keep it going. Hello, Dennis.
How you doing, Tom? I tell you what, I was listening to the NFL Network today. I enjoy that show when I'm in the car on the radio.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to listen to on the radio now other than NFL Network.
Thank you.
I was listening to him, and what I feared, they said was a possibility. And that was, do you think it was a mistake to sign Purdy? Do you think they're second guessing now that Mac Jones has won a few games, that maybe Mac Jones is the answer in San Francisco over Purdy? And it's like, oh man. They react to things as if it's all about talent as opposed to situation.
Yeah.
And in a particular situation, a team's gonna bounce up, and it just happens to be those players on the field at the time. But it's not necessarily that the players are making it happen as much as the situation they're in contributes to it. And so I'm sure, as much as Kyle likes both those quarterbacks, I understand. I understand he does like Mac, but he's not turning his back on Brock. That's not going to happen.
No, it's just I understand those sort of things because I was in those sort of meetings, if you want to call them that. But it's like, what do we talk about today? What'll get the phones going? What'll get the people's interests going? Nothing sells like a quarterback controversy, even if there's not one. Yeah, let's just manufacture one and get people going. Yeah, there's like nothing. You know what? I had two of the worst numbers you could possibly have in wagering last night. I had the Niners +4, the Niners +4.5. And then when I went to 8, I was like, I'm such an idiot. I didn't even realize, like, I should have waited to see. I remember Brock. I remember, Ricky Pearsall, the knee. Jennings, I saw it, got crushed in the ribs. I should have waited for the injury report to come out. But I just thought, Rams, Niners play well down there. Niners are going to have more fans down there. It's going to be a big game, and they're getting points. And I like taking points in the Rams-Niners rivalry. I jumped the gun too quick. I was like, that was just dumb. So when it went to 9, I felt like the biggest idiot. I was pretty happy after last night's game. I got to be honest with you, because I had 2 tickets that were dead tickets walking, and they were resurrected, like Halloween style, resurrected. They're like Michael Myers. They rose up from the grave and said, "Cash us." And I said, I'm glad to.
Yeah, I was in a situation where I really was split on the game. I wrote the column, saying where most people see injuries as a reason to go against the team that suffers the injuries. I see it exactly opposite. You get a bloated line, and you get the motivation of the teams trying to compensate for the loss of those athletes. And I said, the 49ers are in that spot. My problem with the game, or the reason I didn't have the game, was because the two teams came into the game 3-1. And I think the Rams are a better team this year than the Niners right now, given the injuries. And so I couldn't see the Niners going down there and moving ahead of the Rams in the standings. I thought at the end of the day it would be 4-1 Rams and 3-2 49ers. And so I didn't bet on it until halftime. And then I saw the halftime line and I went, oh, here we go. this is, now I can, and I found the right line at half, which was the Rams -7. There was also -7.5 on the halftime line, which I didn't take. So I had, for the game, I always take a halftime line and immediately apply it to the game. So in this case, I had the Rams +3 in the game, by taking the -7 for the second half, the halftime score there was 17-7. And I thought I was the winner all night as I watched the game unfold. I was real happy with the push. I root so much for Kyle. I am such a I have to be careful professionally not to get swayed. I usually don't. I usually take it level-headed.
You don't.
I was really glad the Niners won at the end of the day. There was so many, the fumble at the 1 yard line when the Rams by 4. Just, it was sweet. It was a sweet win.
Now, I felt the same way you did, that it just, everything they put into that game, and as short-staffed as they were, if any team deserved to win a football game, like they deserved to win a football game, like how they came out, how they fought. And then, you got the Collins punching the ball out from Williams at the 1 yard line. And on TV, you couldn't see it. You just saw the players do this, and you're like, oh, shit, did he fumble? And then I remember the official walking up. He was like spotting it, did this. And I didn't know yet, because none of the players were even really pointing. He pointed the Niners way. I go, holy crap, wow. And then we had an interesting discussion, me and Bernie.
Tom, the players never lie. You can see their reaction on the field. Yeah. And they know what happened.
I couldn't even tell from that one, though.
I could see what? The 49ers are pointing like, that's our ball, and they weren't doing it I hope it's our ball. They were saying our ball. At least
Collins stripped it and he fell on it. I think he was surprised. Yeah. He just punched it down and it just stayed there and he fell. He's like, oh, God, I got the ball. So let me ask you this. So Bergie and I were talking last night. He does the post games with me about the 3 runs at the end of the game where they had the ball at the 1 yard line and just wedged it out, and then punted it. And I didn't have a problem with that, at all. 3 runs. If they wanted to pass, I wouldn't have killed that either, but I get the 3 runs. Now, here's a discussion we had. They've exhausted all their timeouts with about 55 seconds left. Do you roll the dice knowing that you're probably going to put them in pretty good position to at least get a field goal and go to overtime? Or do you take the safety, kick it from the 20, gain 20 yards of field position, now knowing that a field goal beats you? I think they did the right thing, but I was thinking, wow, what would I do? If I knew I could get them down to the 10, then I might say, screw it. Let's just go ahead and wedge it out there and see if we can roll the dice. But I guess when it becomes loss versus tie, I guess that's probably obviously where you're going to lean.
Yeah, I was watching that play from so many different angles. First of all, no, I wouldn't have taken the safety there. You can't turn it in where a field goal can beat you. That opens up too much of the field, particularly since these field goal kickers, the Rams kicker hasn't had a particularly good run of it, but the kickers in general, they're hitting 60-yarders
I know. It's unbelievable.
35-yarders. But there was 2 things that I noticed. I said, I said, this is stupid. They're going to run the ball in 3 times and punt it out of their end zone. It's because, and that's what they did. What they take off? 12 seconds. It took 12 seconds off the clock. Now, they did burn the Rams 3 timeouts, so that was a benefit. But I said, and then the offensive team will get the field. You're trying to stop them, and they're able to complete passes. If this defense is sitting there thinking they're going to run into the middle, can't you complete a pass in that setup? I think coaches are so concerned about, not making the mistake, not throwing the pick there.
Yeah.
That the safe thing to do is just run in the line, and that's what the book says. I hate that. I hate another thing. I was watching the baseball games earlier, the playoff games, and there was a fly ball to the Yankees. There was a fly ball the Yankees hit into left center.
Yeah,
and it looked like it was going to get down, but you didn't know for sure. And so there was runners at first and second, and the runner kind of went to shortstop and then hesitated back, and then it dropped, and then he only got to third. And I've seen that so often that the teams are so afraid of taking the chance of just go score that run. If it's a double play, it's a double play. But it's always dropping in, and they're always taking one base. The Giants were playing the Mets once in a 1-0 game in the 8th inning, and it was a similar kind of play. And the Giant held up to see if it was going to drop. Run, man. No one's hitting the ball at all. And it did drop. I think they're so concerned about not getting hung out and getting the easy double play because you're at home plate and they doubled you up at second. But I think you got to take those chances. And I wouldn't have thought that it would have been a better call on the 49ers spot last night to go ahead and go get a first down. The first down wins you the game. Go get the first down.
Yeah. A lot of interesting stuff happened in that game, but there's just something about this team this year that they're just battling through. I mean, the injuries, they're 3-0 in the division now. 2 of those are on the road. I mean, you can make a case that at some point you look at win probability, they were probably like in the 20 percentile against both Seattle and Arizona, and they managed to win both those games. When you see that, you've been watching football a long, long time. When you see a team start off that way early in the season, does that have is there anything that leads you to believe the season's going to go one way or not another, but is it going to go their way? Is it just like, I hate to say magical carpet ride, but when teams do that and they get that type of belief that they can win, even if they're trailing, even if the circumstances dictate, maybe they're not, even if they're injured, they find ways to win. What does that do for a team's confidence?
Well, I see that particular situation from the other side, that if they start to lose and they'll say, well, they were 4-1, you can look back and go, yeah, but they were 4-1, but it was by the skin of their teeth. This wasn't a team that was dominating. And so if it falls off the cliff and goes down, that's the story you'll pin on it. If they turn into last year's Washington Commanders and surprise everybody all year long and win some playoff games, then you can say, yeah, it was just a charmed season. They just, whatever it was to take a team over the top, they had.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to some games, shall we? We have no Niner game to talk about because that happened.
That's what Bella wanted to do, by the way. I could see it in her eyes. Bella was saying, when are you going to talk about the games, Tom?
Yeah, you mean Lou?
I call Lulu Bella again. I'm sorry. I know a Bella that looks just like that.
Lou's like, hey, okay?
Hey, Lulu. Hey, don't get me. Look at that. Lifted her head up, took a look at me like, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I actually did it. I lifted my leg.
Yeah.
You thought she went, what are you talking about?
I thought Lulu.
And then she put her head back down. All right, let's talk about one of the better games of the card. The Broncos going to the Eagles, 3.5. And interesting game because the Eagles feel like the Chiefs of last year where they just keep winning games. But after the game, you're like, I don't know if I can trust what I'm seeing because the numbers are telling me something different. And I look at the Eagles team and, their offense is kind of busted right now. Barkley's just been okay the last few games. A.J. Brown is doing his A.J. Brown thing. And look, I don't blame the guy for being upset. You want to contribute, you want to play. It's better if you keep it in-house and not mention that stuff on social media, but whatever. Jalen Hurts doesn't seem to be throwing the ball as well as he has. Maybe the new offensive coordinator isn't meshing with I don't know what it is. It's just they're not the Eagles. Like if you saw the Eagles were 4-0, you'd be like, oh, man, they must have been – it's not that type of 4-0, but it is still 4-0. Denver, however, has, they've kind of been a little shaky. They got us on Monday night against the Bengals. And by the way, the Bengals and the Titans right now are on my do not bet list. I'm not betting them. I want to see them play at least a competent football game before I'm going to trust them. I'm starting to learn that lesson a little bit, Dennis. Like some teams you just got to let go. You can't keep hanging on to teams. I hung on to Carolina far too long 3 years ago. I hung on to the Browns 8 or 9 years ago. Just sometimes you got to say, prove it to me. Prove it to me you're a competent NFL football team, and then I'll maybe think about investing some of my money. But the Bengals look good on Monday night. How do you see this? Or, I'm sorry, the Broncos look good. How do you see this one? Because 3.5 does seem like somewhat of a short number, but I'm just not. I don't trust the Eagles right now.
Yeah, I still trust the Eagles.
Do you? Okay.
I think they're a winning team. I don't trust the Broncos yet. I still have them charted having a down year, and they handled the Bengals decisively on Monday night. Interestingly enough, I don't usually complain about official calls, but there were 2 calls in that game. I went, wait a minute. We pulled them off sides to get a first down, and they said the center lifted his head and called it against us. That made a difference when it was 3-0 Cincinnati. And then the punt that the guy bobbled, he calls a fair catch, he bobbles it, and the defender's sharp enough to grab it right out of his hand as soon as it bounced up. And they said they didn't give him room to fair catch it. Yes, he did. He'd given him room, and then he bobbled.
Yeah, he did.
And that those 2 plays made, a difference in that game. But what we got caught on with that in that Cincinnati game, I do believe, was that Cincinnati came into the game 2-1, and Denver came into the game 1-2.
Yeah,
and so we were asking the weaker team to move to 2 games ahead of their opponent. That's a tough fight. That wasn't overcome. Now you look at the Broncos going to Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia will be inspired to play this team, and I think they'll handle them. It's not a game that I'm excited about playing. I'm not on either side of, with any conviction. But yeah, I'm not cooled on the Eagles at all. I like that they're just winning games. I like teams that just methodically win games and don't feel like they need to win 34-3, but just go out and win the game. And they were fortunate to win the Rams game. The other games that they pretty much had in front of them, even the Cowboys game, if CeeDee Lamb would have caught a couple passes, the Cowboys, might have clipped them on opening day. But I'm not. I'm still down on the Broncos. I still have a category of coming off, going from last place to the playoffs. 1 year almost always has a dark side to it. And I think only laying 3.5 points now, line opened at 4. My leanings would be to the Eagles in the game, but as I say, it's not a rated play for us.
Do the Cowboys Jets excite you at all? I looked at the Cowboys.
It excites me a lot.
I looked at the Cowboys. I'm like, why these guys? Why are these guys favored? They got bad defense. Go on the road. Like their offense is more than competent. I mean, although I'm not sure about Green Bay's defense now. I thought the Green Bay's defense was really good. Maybe they are. Maybe the Cowboys' offense is just that good, but they don't have CeeDee Lamb. Pickens has really picked it up for him. And Dak, whatever you think of Dak, he just is really good professional quarterback is what he is. Like, he may not be in the top 3 or 4, but he's right there and he's solid and he's a guy that you can win with. That being said, I don't want any part of this team as a road favorite in the Meadowlands. Like I like the Jets in this one. How do you see it?
Well, when we've talked in the past, Tom, for years and said, yeah, we have to bet on bad teams, Here we are. I got a couple for you this week. This is one of them. The winless Jets. Oh, man. Give me the winless Jets.
Yeah.
The Cowboys, a bet on road favorite. Why? Because the Packers laid an egg after they were going to be up 14-0 and missed the extra point and had it returned. And now it's 13-2, and that seemed to change the whole kind of thinking of the game. And they ended up 40-40. They could never stop them. The Cowboys couldn't. When push came to shove, the Packers were able to move the ball. It's a horrible defense. And their running game, I don't think it's that much better. They did make some yards the other night. But, this is a Jets' first win, and so we'll take the points with it. But This will be a play for us. This is a rated play. The Jets are the play.
Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, let me ask you about another one that's not really a bet on. It's more of a bet against. Although I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. But Miami wins one game and now they're a road favorite. Again, another team. I'm like, why are you road favorites? And I get it. You're playing the Panthers, and I'm not sure what happened to Bryce Young. He was like awful, bust. We're gonna get rid of him. And then last year, like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe he turned it. Oh, I see an NFL quarterback in there. And then that NFL quarterback got stuffed in somebody's overhead bin during the offseason, and he's back to being the old Bryce Young, which isn't great. But I mean, I don't know that I want to take this one. That's why I'm asking you. But I'm sorry. I mean, the Dolphins as a road favorite just is not. That ain't right. That just ain't right, Dennis.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Panthers to be a good bet. You know, I
agree with you.
Not a team that loses forever and then gets good before anybody notices it. At least a few weeks before anybody notices it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure we're there yet. The 30-0 win over the Falcons was much more the Falcons losing than the Panthers winning, but it was still 30-0 Carolina 2 weeks ago. And then, last week they revert back to the Panthers and they're horrible again. I'm not going to take the Dolphins as a road favorite, but if there were matchups that you wanted, this is the kind of matchups the Dolphins would want. That how what they get done and what the weaknesses is on the other side of the ball. So yeah, not a play for me, but when I start playing Carolina, it'll be on them, not against them.
Yeah. This is one I want to take. I missed the number early on, so I always do that. I miss the number. Now, when it crosses 0,
so disappointing. So all the work we've done together, and you still miss numbers. It's just disheartening to me.
Look, if I'm gonna miss a number, it's okay. It's not like I'm running to the window to bet the Saints over the Giants, but I'd like to, and if I'm going to, I'd like to get points with the Saints instead of now laying points with the Saints. I mean, I got a team that, other than the Seattle game, has actually been in games. They battled against the Cardinals, lost, battled against the Niners, lost, really battled against the Bills and lost. And then obviously they got obliterated up in Seattle. So you got them going against the Giants, who won their first game last week as a huge game at home against the Chargers. Jackson Dart's first game. Now he's got to go on the road. And he was fine. I thought he was more than fine for a rookie. He used his legs a little bit, his arm just a little bit. Didn't turn the ball over, didn't put him in bad positions. And that's fine. I mean, that's cool. But now he's going to go on the road after winning their first game of the year. Saints still haven't won a game this year. I mean, I want to take the Saints here, but again, I'm mad that I didn't take them when they were an underdog. Now that they're a favorite. How do you see this one?
Well, I never saw him as an underdog. I saw the game open as a pick 'em one.
I saw him +1. I saw him +1 early in the week.
Okay, I'm surprised I missed it.
Pick 'em would have been fine.
I didn't see that. Here's the situation. You've got a Saints quarterback, Rattler, who has started 10 NFL games and has won none of them.
I think 0, yes.
So 0-10 lifetime, and now he's a favorite. That's just crazy enough to be a winner. Why would he be a favorite if he wasn't going to win when he's 0-10? I know that's a convoluted way to look at this thing, but that's what leads me to the Saints side of this equation. Is he couldn't possibly be a favorite at 0-10 unless he was going to win.
So we're going Rattler then.
We'll be in church during the game, but
yeah. Well, I'm not watching it. If I bet on it, doesn't mean I'm watching it.
Well, it's up there. They're all on there in the office. I see them all. It's not.
Yeah.
I can't say I don't want to look at that one. They're all there.
Take one of your framed pictures on the wall. Take it off the wall and put it over the screen.
That's right. We'll get a picture.
You can't watch it. Do you have the big TV with you do the 4x4 boxes you're watching, or do you have?
I used to have the 5 TVs, You know,
did you really?
And with different games on the different channels when that's how you had to do it.
Yeah.
Now that works for me. The package with being able to, and I finally learned this year how to build my thing. I used to be so mad. Why do I have that game? I don't want that.
Yeah,
game.
well, they give you 4 games you have to watch.
Yeah, now I can build it. Exactly what I want. So yeah, that's what I use.
Yeah. We have 2 TVs out there. We have one on the red zone because that's the boys like to watch the red zone. And I don't. I like to watch one game. That's more than enough for me. I put it on the quad box and I just can't keep up with everything. And I feel like I lose. So I pick one game and I have it on the main TV, and then the other one will be red zone. Like I'll probably have the Broncos Eagles on the main TV in the morning, and then in the afternoon I might bounce back and forth a little bit between Commanders and Chargers and Seahawks and Buccaneers. I think those 2 games will be kind of fun to watch. But speaking of that, what do you think of the Chargers? They lose the first game in New York, now come back home, playing against the Commanders. They get Jaden Daniels back. I mean, this one to me, I think the Chargers are one of the best teams in the NFL. So, like, I'd have no problem playing the Chargers all the way across country for the Commanders. Maybe it doesn't make a huge difference the way these guys travel nowadays. But how do you see this one? I don't know injury status, by the way, of
well, I criticize you for missing a number there. I was doing numbers on Tuesday morning, and I saw that line drop to 2.5, and I went, "Oh, I should take that. I should take that right now. 2.5. Yep. That's a good line. And then I did some other work, and I went back to get it. Yeah, it's gone. It's 3. And I went, yeah. Opportunities are like apertures on a camera.
I know.
You gotta take them when they're there.
You gotta take them. So frustrating.
And I also know now that sometimes I pause because I really do want to have all the information going into the game. I want to have the final injury report. More importantly for me, beginning tonight when I canvass the casinos, I want to see where the action is and who's betting on what. That always assists. That's always an assist. But in this case, I love the Chargers. I've got the Broncos and the Washington Commanders in exactly the same, box that these were teams that went from the dumpster to the playoffs. And in the Commanders case, they won 2 postseason games, beating Tampa Bay and then upsetting, in Detroit, the top seeded Lions. So now they go on the road, and here, it's textbook, right? The first game out, that Marcus Mariota takes him to a win when the whole team's playing around him. Then his second start, he loses that to Atlanta last week. Now you go back to Jaden, and they go, oh, good, we got our starter back, and so there isn't quite the boost that they got the first Mariota game motivationally. And then you've got the Chargers lost last week. Boy, we saw that too. And I'm so high on the Chargers, I didn't pull the trigger on it. But I went, there's the Giants. I mean, I follow the sharpest book. And the sharpest book dropped that line to 5.5, at 9 a.m. last Sunday. Yeah. And I went, well, that's pretty obvious. That's a Giants play. And I still don't want it because I know how good and it starts first game and all this stuff. But so great. Lose when you're supposed to lose, Chargers, and you did.
Yeah.
I didn't come home. That's the only game we haven't had, only week we hadn't picked them last week. We'll be on them big time tomorrow or Sunday. Yeah, big time.
Yeah, and it's a chance it could get back to 2.5. It's 3, I think, minus 105 right now. So
Jaden Daniels helps that prospect. Him coming back. There might be some people that bet on him getting points.
Yeah, they might. I think you could wait on that because it's not going to 3.5. So the worst you're going to get is 3. So you should be okay on that one. All right, I want to let you get to a game that intrigues you, but Seattle. I got to ask you, Tampa, Seattle. That's about as long a flight as you can take in the NFL, isn't it? I think Miami, Seattle is the longest. Tampa's got to be the second longest, like that. Now that's travel right there. Like I don't know how you feel about Baker Mayfield, but I've like completely went 180 on Baker. I think he's so much fun to watch, and he's so tough, and he's such a leader. And I just think he's turned into a really good professional quarterback. He's a little unconventional sometimes, but man, I don't know. There's better quarterbacks in the league for sure. But in the fourth quarter with the ball in his hands and they're down or close, like I just feel like that guy's going to make a play somehow, some way. So they don't have Mike Evans this week. They travel all the way to Seattle, who's 3-1. Darnold's been playing really well there, and obviously it's a tough place to play. Their defense is really good. This might be just a sit and watch game, or maybe not. What do you think?
Well, Kevin says that the loss of Mike Evans, which seems like it would be a big deal because he's been the leading receiver for as long as he has been, is not as crippling to the Buccaneers as you might think, because they have other receivers that are filling in. Evans is on the shadowy side of his career age-wise, and so that loss may not be as severe as it looks like when you see Mike Evans on the injury report. I agree with you, Baker Mayfield, and he's a chipper too. He's constantly talking out there. He's you either love him or hate him, and most people just have to laugh and go, "That son of a gun." He just doesn't let up. He just doesn't let up. I'm concerned about the injuries they're confronting on the offensive line, though. That can catch up with you. I don't want Seattle making that long journey and a 3-1 record off their win against Carolina. Arizona. They've had a little extra rest here because that was a Thursday night game. That's a long journey to take. But I'm not interested in the Bucs necessarily as a favorite right now, just because I think their injury situation and what the Philadelphia game did. Was it Philadelphia they played last week? Yeah. What that took out of them. Sometimes you play one of those games, you lose it tough, how quickly do you get back? We'll see what numbers, come up in the next 36 hours. But right now, this is, like you said, a watch it game.
All right. If there's a game that I missed that you wanted to talk about that intrigued you a little bit, I feel like we had a bunch of games. I feel like we had most of the slate, but is there a game out there that you look at that you're like, this is intriguing?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There it is.
And you're going to hate it.
Oh, no. I love games that I hate.
Early in the show, you wrote this team off. Not betting on the Bengals anymore. Not doing it. Oh, what a spot.
No.
What a spot for the Bengals. What a spot for the Bengals.
Wave it off. Look, even Lou got up. Lou's like, Lou even said, "Are you nuts?"
You got the Bengals going home off an embarrassment on Monday night. They're 2-2, and with the backup quarterback, they've been horrible in his 2 starts. No, look at
Lou cannot believe what's coming out of your mouth right now. She's like, "You kidding me?"
You've got the Detroit Lions who opened with a loss in Green Bay. And now, and everybody had so many questions about it. The coaching staff is all different. Boy, they lost all their coordinators. That's the fewest points they've scored in 3 years. The 27-13 loss to the Packers. Yep. Oh man, maybe they're not good. Well, what did that do to them? Well, that just, hello, we're here. We're the Lions. We're still good. 52 against Chicago, 40 whatever against the next opponent. Now they've scored more points than anybody in the league again. They blew out their opponent last week. 3 big blowouts, and now they get to go play Cincinnati.
Cincinnati Bengals.
How easy can that be, Tom? Next week they play the Kansas City Chiefs. You might not think that they're looking over the fence a little bit at that. This is probably the top pick of the week, and it's the Cincinnati Bengals over the Detroit Lions.
All right, I'm gonna have to cut you off now. That's it. I've had it. I can't do it. I don't know if I can do it again.
You can either win. You can win for 6 days a week, or you can win on Sundays. They're not usually the same.
Oh God, you're trying to ruin my Sunday, aren't you?
No. I'm ruining your Friday and Saturday. Your Sunday will be fine.
Okay, if you're gonna ruin my Friday and Saturday, and Sunday's better, then I maybe God, I don't know if I can do that one. Okay, I'll trust you. Oh, that's just it sickens
but that
me.
just it on the Monday night.
No, it makes perfect sense.
At the end of the game, Troy, it was either Troy or Buck said, you know, oh no, when the Bengals were stinking up the game, boy, next week, you know, they got the Lions. Good luck there. And I went, yes, that's the kind of thinking I want. That good luck there, you know.
There's a sickness there. So there you go. So Jets, Bengals, and we'll see what other goodies we have for the weekend. Dennis, as always, a pleasure. Thanks for ruining my Friday and Saturday. We'll see about Sunday. But have a great weekend. Let's get some winners. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks a lot, Tom. Have a good week.
Thanks, Dennis. I appreciate it. He's so good. I love him. He is trying to ruin my weekend though. Bengals. I don't know that I could do that. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I know. It moved from 10.5 to 9.5. Like, and that's another one. Like, if I got 10.5, that's a huge number. 10's a big number. So maybe it goes back to 10. I should look right now. What are you doing, goofball? Look at this. She's like, all right, yeah, are we gonna it's 2:00? Huh? Yeah, aren't you? Oh, you're like, yeah, I'll just be your co-host today. I know. All right, we'll get on out of here. Before we get out of here, let me just say this because I had a lot of people ask me about this, about the Jonathan Kuminga situation and how it's going to play out. And look, I could talk about Kuminga all the time. Kuminga, you remember when Howard Stern said on Private Parts that he realized lesbians equal ratings? On a much smaller scale, I could talk about Jonathan Kuminga every day, and the numbers would be really good. I'm not going to do that. Why? Because it bores me. I don't feel like talking about Jonathan Kuminga every day. I think once a month is more than fine. But I did want to say this because I had a lot of people ask about this. Like, how's this situation going to work itself out? It'll be fine. It'll be fine. If Kuminga wants to get paid, you want to be looked at by another organization as a good teammate that's coachable, that is professional. It's always got to be. That's always got to be. Be a good teammate, coachable, professional. You know, to stay ready, whatever they ask you to do, do it, and you're going to get your money. Not going to be with the Warriors more than likely. Like more than likely not going to be with the Warriors, but that's fine. Again, I don't think he didn't want to be here anyway because he wants a bigger role. That's cool. But you got to be professional. You can't give another team a reason to say, oh, man, this guy's kind of a malcontent. We don't want him on our team. So I think it'll be fine. The Warriors going to use him the way they always use him, which is probably sparingly. And when somebody gets hurt, he'll step up and get more minutes. And maybe in terms of matchups against certain teams, maybe he gets a little bit more time here or there. But I don't think it's going to be any different than it was last year. And they're just kind of waiting. It's one of those things. Both parties are waiting for this to be over. And so we'll see where it goes. But as far as him being a problem, it being an issue, there being some discontent in the locker room, they got too much leadership in this locker room to let that happen. I mean, when you have Draymond, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, that kind of stuff isn't going to happen, nor would it be tolerated, nor would it be smart for him to do it. Because all stories get out in the NBA. All these guys know what goes on with certain teams. And you just want to be professional. And I have no reason to believe that he won't be professional. All right, we're going to get on out of here. Like, subscribe. I would appreciate it. Again, Bay Area Sports Collective. You can go to BASC. Almost put the C in front of the S. BASC.com. You can find all the shows there. What else do I want to get to? There you go. There's your like, subscribe button. It'd be much appreciated. So, schedule for the upcoming week. It's gonna be a big week. We got no Sunday show, so I get a little breather there. I can just sit around and watch football all day. And Monday, Brent Jones. Brent's gonna be pumped. I was kind of bummed we didn't have Brent on today. Brent's gonna be pumped. Tuesday, hockey preview with the hockey god himself, Drew Remenda. Thursday, a little NBA preview with Anscape's Mark Spears. And Drew Remenda and Mark Spears are going to be, I know, they're going to be in the backyard. You're even pumped about that, aren't you? So we're going to have 2 backyard shows next week. We'll have Drew Remenda on Tuesday, Mark Spears on Thursday. And then Friday, you know, our handicapping show. So big week next week. And then we have Sunday of that week, we have a post-game show out here in the backyard. And then Bergie will be gone for a few weeks, going down under to see the Roos and New Zealand and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, busy week next week, and then I'll be starting Warriors hoops. I think I have a game next week. Next Thursday, I think I have a game. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on. So everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. Be safe. Enjoy your beer. Do what you're going to do. Good weather out there. And I'll talk to you on Monday. Till then, see you.